Well, good morning everyone, and welcome to the first webinar in a series that we're doing. In the past we have met personally on site visiting people or having meetings. Indeed, last week I was supposed to be in Perth at a conference there, but COVID's put paid to that, so now we're all doing everything online. So my name is Edward O'Leary. Apologies if you're expecting Pamela O'Leary. I'm doing it today. I'm a co-founding director with Pamela and I'm the current CEO. So question is, who uses Abtrac? And I thought I'd start just by going through that just briefly. It's you can see the people that are using it. Essentially all these people are the same. They're all selling their time and expertise. They're all working on projects that span a long period of time. They have no inventory, and most of them are charging a goodly rate as well. So one of the criteria is, what makes Abtrac different, for example, than software tradies might use, is a tradie might do 4 jobs in a day or a dozen or more jobs in a week. Some of our clients here might have a team of people all working on the one project for a long period of time, going through many different stages as they go throughout the job. So I thought you might be interested also, and then what does Abtrac do? So who uses it? We've covered that. What it does, it's basically the operational management system of the business. So it's not your CAD software, it's not your accounting software, it's all the people with whom you're doing work. I'm not sure if you can see that mouse moving there. The work you're doing for the clients, and of course you're dealing with other people as well. Then within the company, the planned time and the actual time, employees' rates and roles and their costs and everything like that. And you're doing all of that. If you get all of these things right on the first few bubbles, then these ones over on the right, in particular, invoicing comes right. And Abtrac will also manage debtors. We interface with lots of other packages, accounting packages, of course, MYB, Xero, QuickBooks, you name it. We interface with them throughout New Zealand and Australia. We also interface with other systems like document management systems, 12D Synergy, Ferret, pretty well anything, because we have an API. Now clients that come to us, or prospective clients, they're all using systems at the moment. Nobody now doesn't have a system, even if it's just bits of paper. But they come to us and they say, look, we've got an alleged time billing system recommended by our accountant, but we're still doing our invoices in Excel or Word. Or they come to us and they say, look, we've got long-term contract rates on particular projects, and every time we change the rates for an employee, like a financial year end, for example, it retrospectively changes all historical rates. So a lot of other systems don't do that sort of thing. The easy timesheets, lots of reports. Some of our clients say, look, we're trying to download disbursements from Xero and we can't even import them into a Xero and time billing package. So we say, well, we can do that, and we've been doing it for a long time. And increasingly now, timesheet systems used to be what happened last week and last month for billing purposes. Now it's just as important to know what's happening next week and next month. And so resource planning, work planning is one of the big deals now with Abtrac. And as I mentioned before, we have an API, so anybody can link their system into Abtrac. And of course, we link with many others as well. Our philosophy, if you like, is that for professional services firms to work really well, you've got to have the systems in place all working together. And you've got to have staff enjoying their time and spending their time productively. You don't want them going home and say, like, I spent the whole day rekeying timesheets, or it took me all morning just to work out what to bill one particular client. We focus in particular on getting the invoices out the door as stress-free as possible. Abtrac itself is it's been in the cloud since 2014. We have regular updates every 2 months or so. We like to think it's very intuitive, and all of our clients tell us it is. And one of the things that we live and die by is our support. If you phone up, you phone through to us, you get someone who knows what they're talking about, they'll give you the answer pretty well straight away within real time. So just jumping forward a couple now, if I jump down here, I'll get onto Abtrac shortly. What sort of sizes of businesses use Abtrac? Well, we've got quite a lot of clients who are 0 to 5 staff, quite a lot of clients who are 6 to 10 staff, so that's the first 25%, 27% or so. It then thins out a bit through the mid-20s, and then we've got a lot of big clients up at the other end again. So 20% of our clients are between 81 and 100 staff, and we've got a few over there. Our biggest clients about 150 staff. So that's just a brief rundown on what Abtrac is and who uses it. I'll now show you Abtrac, and we'll get on with the presentation. So this is Abtrac. I'm hoping you can all see it on your screens there. We've got these little widgety things, lots of little widgets all over Abtrac charts and things like that. And I can configure it. Of course, I might select when I log in, I just want to see jobs for which I'm the project manager. And so I'll just filter it here. We've got hook throughs and things, hyperlinks, I can go straight through it. We've got lots of other little charts here we can drill down, and of course everything I'm showing you today, you can control who can go where and do what, right down to this person can only log their timesheets and then they can only do anything in their timesheets until someone else commits it. So here I've just jumped in and I'm looking at a progress chart of actual versus budget. I can say, look, rather than looking at my project and stage, just show me it for every individual project. It's just showing how we're consuming the fees as we go through the projects that we're working on. Moving into what I'm going to do today is I'll spend a bit of time looking at clients and jobs and job setups, a bit of time looking at time and disbursements entry. We'll look a bit at reports, and the purpose being to look at productivity on reports on projects, and also to look at invoicing. And finally we'll talk about invoicing itself. Now, whilst we're going through this webinar, most of you muted, so you can neither talk nor can we see your videos, but feel free to put together an email. You can email it to Pamela or to myself, e.o'leary@abtrac.com, or you can just email support. So as questions arise, you can email them through and we'll endeavour to respond to them, if not during this webinar, then immediately afterwards. What I'm going to do here is just go and have a look now at some clients and projects, and I've set up Abtrac at the moment so that I'm looking at current clients, current projects, both billable and non-billable projects. And a lot of our clients have got multiple offices around the country or around the states of Australia, that is, and so they can have multiple branch offices through here. What I haven't done is welcome everybody to this webinar. I know that there are people tuning in from the bottom of the South Island and the Corrigal. Welcome to you. I know that some people have got up early in WA, and so welcome to you too, and everybody in between. I hope you're enjoying it so far. Here we go. What I'm looking at is the current clients and current projects. You set yourself up as a client because you want to record sick leave and annual leave and all the non-billable jobs against which people put their time, because everything counts. You can also set up third-party entities. Here's someone here and we've got no current jobs for them. They're still a current contact because they work for us as sub-consultants. So what I'm going to do now is I'll just go and look for one particular client, and I'm pretty sure they had RE in their name. So I've just typed up RE here and it's found a whole lot of people here, and the one I'm interested in is Dressings. How here they are here. This client appears many times because we've got many current projects for them on the go. Now, I've got a funny smorgasbord of project codes here, or job codes you might call them. I'm just showing here that you can have alphas, numerics, whatever you like, up to a significant number of characters as well. Basically, we say to people, if you can articulate how your job coding system works, we can probably do it already in Abtrac. Clicking through to the client, all you need is the name. So here we've got Dressings How Pty Limited. You can give it an abbreviation which comes out on some reports and, for example, on your timesheets, so that it's not using up a lot of real estate. So colloquially we'll call it DHL. If you're interfacing with an accounting system, we can interface on, for example, the customer card file number or the unique ID in your accounting system, or the name or the abbreviation. All you need is the name, everything else is optional. But here I've said, listen, I want to know who's the person within our company, that's me, who's looking after this client. Similarly, I might say, well, who's a director level person, or what type of client are they, what rating have we given them? And we can have master clients as well. So I might say this is a master client, and under it there's lots of subsidiary firms, and we deal with all of them. A particular client will have some invoice defaults here. In fact, some of our clients will say, well, look, this is the client name, but they've asked us to send all invoices to a completely different name. I can put that in there. I can do it at the client level or the project level. And here I've said, by default, send all invoices to Kevin. He's operating out of a Brisbane office here. Down the bottom, you can also see that you can have particular terms for a client. If you're dealing with a bigger client, you might say, look, we know they don't pay us until 90 days. So we can set them up with special terms. This is a 90-day client, and then it just saves them coming up as overdue if everyone else is due on the 20th of the month following. So you can do that at a corporate rate for a client. I can say, okay, well, these are the terms we're giving you. Just as some of our clients will have branch offices across both countries or around the country, your clients might have multiple branch offices, and here I've just got some in different locations, but you might just select just within Auckland, for example. They've got an office on the North Shore, they've got an office down South Auckland or whatever. I can have their branch offices here, and in particular I would do that because I'm interested in tracking people at each of those branch offices. So I've got Judith here, she's actually, she's the CEO, she's the boss. She's our main contact and she operates out from Sydney, and I've also got Kevin, you can see here, operating out from Brisbane. I've chosen 2 city locations that are central between WA and New Zealand. I hope you appreciate that. Now, every employee has a default charge rate, even if you're working on fixed fee projects or percentage claims or anything like that. You can say, look, every employee by default, we charge them out at a certain rate. But for a particular client, you can have a corporate rate for a client. You say, this client, we always charge a discounted rate because they give us lots of work, or maybe we charge them a premium rate because there's a lot of travel involved. So I can do that at the employee level, and I can do that also at the activity level. If I say, look, if we're travelling, we charge a different rate than if we're on site doing inspection work or if we're in the office writing reports. So I've come in through the client. I'm now going to drill down and we'll look at the projects. And again, we've got this funny smorgasbord of project codes. These are all the projects that have been on the go. Some are completely finished, just for Dressings How. And I'll go and look at one particular project and we'll play with that for the rest of this webinar. So I picked a generic sort of audit type of job here. For the client, all you needed was the name. For the project, you need a code of some sort. You can just let Abtrac generate the next number off the rank. You can see that you can actually give it a proposal number, which could be different to the project code. You might say, look, initially it's proposal, it's not yet billable. And you're allowed to do that within Abtrac as well, and so you can track proposals through all the way. In addition to the project code, I do need a description, which might just be Chris to advise or Sam to advise, and down here Abtrac automatically creates a date that you can edit, of course. Now, just as I was the account manager for the client, I put myself in as the job manager here for this project. I can have lots of other fields through here, and if you've got anything in here, you can query by it. So in the initial search screen, I'll just flick back into that. I might say, look, search for projects of a certain status, and I can do that through here by specifying a status. Similarly, I can search for projects of a certain type or run report invoices by a certain type. And all of these drop-down lists here and in all the other pages are managed under your maintenance screen here. So we've got status type I've talked about. Down the bottom you can see work source and various other things. Client type I've referred to before. You maintain them all through the administrative screens, then you pick them from the list. A particular client will have billing details. If they're a corporate client, they might give you a purchase order. They might even say, look, if you want to get paid, you've also got to include our project number on your invoice. So they don't care that our project's called 190211. We want to see ours on our invoices, please. So there's lots of information to do with the client down here, and what they've said here is don't address it to Dressings How Pty Limited, address it to DHL Holdings. So that just saves me sending the invoice to the wrong address, and then 6 weeks later when I phone up and say, where's the money? They say, oh, you've got to address it to some other entity. And as with the client, I can have specific terms. I can have very specific terms just for this project as well, and they will override terms that you'd normally set up under your invoice settings page within Abtrac. A particular client will have a list of people if that's what you want to use, and I must point out nobody uses all of Abtrac, but I've just got a shopping list of people here on this particular project, and it's quite useful because I might say, look, there's 24 different people that we deal with at council. On this particular project we're dealing with Deborah here, and here are her contact details and her email. I can send them notifications or phone them up and say, hey, there's a meeting next week, can you all make it? So in addition to adding other entities with whom we do business down here and the people who work for them, I can just add a random Bob the Builder or someone else who's relevant just on this particular project. Most of our clients will break their jobs up into stages or phases or tasks, and I've got some here, just a few. So I've said, okay, well, we're doing an assessment. There's some travel and accommodation for which we're going to be charging some fees for our time. We've got some implementation and monitoring, and here we're charging fees for our time, and we're also outsourcing some of it to a sub-consultant. And down the bottom here, in the course of this project, we had the initial quote of these first 3 ticks up here. They've come along with something extra, a variation. We've said, look, we'll charge $4,200 for that, but we must assure you that's only an estimate. We're actually going to charge it at an hourly rate. So when you start a project of a certain type, you don't need to fill in all these fields. If you just add another particular stage, in this case, it'll just put in the name and you can type in whatever you want, and if you leave it blank, Abtrac doesn't mind. But a lot of our clients will say, look, this project is the same as other projects of the same type, and so they will clone the stages from another project, and that gives them a commonality of naming as they're doing their work, and it also saves a lot of typing, of course. So there's lots of little extras here that I'm not skipping over, but I'll just highlight just briefly as we go through them. If you have put in start date, end dates for each of these stages, I can produce a little cash flow forecast here. I can regenerate that at any time. So it might have said, look, in fact, we didn't build anything up until October. And so if I regenerate that forecast, it'll put in what we have built to date, and it'll forecast the remaining budget out insofar as the dates prescribed. Now, I can also look at it from the resourcing perspective. If I have put in hours, I've only put it up here for the first stage. You can see, well, there's some down here. It's just telling me, were we to allocate it across those months, this is the sort of resourcing that we might need. So lots of our clients will do things like this. Others will do it in spreadsheets, and then they'll be quite amazed when they read a newsletter one time that Abtrac does it for them. Within the project, I can do a few other things as well. I've mentioned before specific rates. I can have specific rates here. I can track documents within the project. It doesn't actually pull them into Abtrac. It just has a UNC path or a URL to Dropbox or something like that. I can say, okay, well, here's some sketches, here's the fee proposal, etc. And some of the clients are in testing laboratories, and they have to do standard tests, and they say, well, the reporting standards that we're basing it on here are this or that or something else. Some of our engineers will be doing the same as well. So this complies with ISO ratings or whatever else is required. So backing out of here, I'll come back into the main job screen. As the job progresses, some of our clients will put notes against it. So this is not a timesheet entry, it's just some notes. So back in June 2019, Sam called about something or other. It's just a note on the job. So people will use this for work health and safety notes. This one here says, don't park in the project manager's special car park because he gets angry when you go on site. So just whatever you like, and someone can come in here if they're allowed to. They might only come in on a read-only basis, but they can keep abreast of all these different notes. Project feedback is used sometimes where clients survey their clients. I asked one of our prospective clients, do you ever survey your clients? And he said, yes, we call it arbitration. So he was a bit of a hard-nosed, but some of our clients will feedback from their proposals that were unsuccessful in particular, and they'll keep it in here and they can learn from that. And then some of our clients, they'll say, listen, we've got some stages here in 28,000, 32,000, those are biggish numbers. We can break them up into smaller bits and pieces. And so some of our clients will use these things called work items. I've only got a few here, but these can become basically a quality assurance or tick list of things you have to get done. So it might be 4 hours for this or 20 hours for that, making up that $32,000, for example, and then these become items of things to be done, a big shopping list of things to be done, not just for this project, but for all the projects. And for every one of these, somebody is responsible. Now, they don't have to do it, but I'm responsible to see this is done. And in fact, what I have done in the past is I've farmed it out to Mark to go out and do this particular bit of work. I'll come back to work items shortly when we look at time and disbursements. Finally, I'll just talk on these last few down here. For forward planning, a lot of our clients will do their forward planning within Abtrac, and we can do it in lots of different ways. I will show you one, hoping that it gives you an idea rather than confuses. So some of the clients, the project manager will come in here and they'll say, okay, this is what we've got. We can see this is the budget, this is what we've actually burned through at the moment, build, variance, budget, etc. Then I can drill down. I can say, okay, well, let's have a look at a lower level. And what I've done, I've scheduled myself and Jennifer to work 65 and 60 hours respectively. I can see that I've already exceeded that. For some reason, Jennifer hasn't done her 60 hours, so I've decided, okay, I'm going to add Mark. I can add someone else here. I can just add employees. I'll add Chancey Gardner as well, one of the great names, and I'll say, right, for this stage, I want him to do 34 hours there. So this is giving a schedule for each of these respective employees as we add them through. I won't save that. But some of our clients will do that. So the architect will come in, or the designer, the engineer, the PR agent, whoever they are who's managing this particular job, can come in and plan ahead week by week by week like this. So I'll come back out of this, back to the job. Here we go, 2 more to go. Within Abtrac, you can have lots of different templates. So here I've got a project template. You can have an invoicing template, of course, and there's others on the way or in Abtrac already. You can have data management letters, you know, hey, we're now 90 days overdue, what's going on? Here I'll just show you one here. I've got a particular job template here. I've got several. I'll say I want to print a template for QA jobs. So this is a proposal that's going out to the client, and we're just merging words that we've got within Abtrac, including the stages that are here already, and some of our clients will have multiple pages within their proposal. You set it up once, and then you just click a button, as I've just done, and it merges whatever's on the particular job page. I'll finish off by looking at this analysis page. So here's the top line. The blue line is the top dollar that we're aiming for on this particular project. The green line is my proposal. And you can see that the job, not my proposal, it's my forecast, sorry. The green line is my forecast. You can see, in fact, we didn't follow the forecast at all. It took an awful long time to get off the ground. But we can see now, up at the end of May, we're pretty well netted off. We've caught up with our time billing. There's a bit more invoicing to be raised, but more time has been put on the tab since then, and it's forecasting through to the end. If you're not a graphical person, we've got some nice hard metrics down here that show us different things, and I can drill through here and see more as well if I want to, or I can come down here. I can look at the invoicing, for example. So if I click on this, I see on some invoices I wrote off and some I wrote on. So I'll say, well, why did we write off $81 there? Well, I can click on this invoice, and Abtrac keeps an audit trail, if you like, between what you've said on the invoice. So that's what I said on the invoice. I said we want $1,200. These are the timesheet lines. So we said we're accounting for these 3 timesheet lines that came to $1,281 for us and the client $1,200. That's why I wrote off that $81. Not only can I use this for internal purposes, but I can actually export that and massage it if I want to and send it to a client. Some of our clients do that. If I want to drill a bit further, rather than just looking at a 2D chart, I can say, well, let's look at it stage by stage by stage. So for the project assessment stage, that's our budget, that's our actual, that's unbilled, that's gone in and been billed. That's what we've billed for it, and at that stage, for the project assessment size, we wrote on $1,453. So across the top line, it's just telling me the project in total. So there's lots of reports and widgets and charts and bring-ups and things that different people use. Down here, I'll just show you this last one here. Then we'll move on and do some timesheets. So this is just showing a Gantt chart. This is just play data, but normally their planned time and the actual time would line up a bit more nicely, perhaps like this bottom one here for the extra one. So that's setting up clients and projects. I've spent a bit of time on it because that's where most people spend the detail. If you put it in here right, then everything else just falls out very nicely. Moving along now, I will enter some time and disbursements, and this is where most people have their relationships with Abtrac. Most of our clients will have people configured as what we call timesheet only users, so they can only log in and do their timesheets. And they can only do their timesheets until someone else commits those timesheets, in which case they're locked. But looking at a particular timesheet, we've got multiple views within Abtrac. So this view, for example, will not only fill an expansive screen as I've got here, or responsive screen, it'll also work right down onto my mobile phone, and indeed I have got it on my mobile phone. Some of our clients say, look, we don't like it looking like this, we're used to something different. So when you configure Abtrac, you can say, well, look, we'd rather our timesheets look like this, for example. And if you're doing fortnightly timesheets, you'd have a scroll bar across here. So part of setting up Abtrac is just making it look and feel and behave the way you want it to. Just as you can control the view of the timesheet, you can say, look, we don't use work columns. We can hide that under the settings here. So timesheet entry is pretty straightforward, and if I start a timesheet for a new week ending, then what I can do is I can clone my timesheet from last week or from a prior period, and any project that is still current will come through, and it just saves you rekeying a lot of stuff. All I can then do is I can just go through and say I've done 2 hours here and 5 hours there, etc. If you can, or if you need to, I can also add disbursements. So on this 1.5 hours, it was a public holiday. I probably didn't do any disbursements there, but I'll pick this one down here. I can add a disbursement if I want to, and I can annotate that timesheet line by double clicking. And you can set up rules within Abtrac. If I go and add some more time for that particular job I've been playing with, so I'll put a bit of time in here, and I'll say I was very diligent. I worked on Sunday. I did 5 hours on Sunday. I'm going to click away, and it's going to try and auto-save, and it can't auto-save because it says, look, someone's put a tick in this project to say I have to pick a stage. So you can set up different rules across all of Abtrac and different rules on a project-by-project basis to say this is the data that I need to capture on this particular project. Now it's happy, it's saved that record. I could have similarly been prompted to say, look, you must enter a comment, or indeed you must even verify worthy disbursements, yes or no. At the end of each timesheet period, normally people will say my timesheet is complete, whether they do or not. An administrator can come back in and commit not just the timesheets for myself, but for anyone that they are allowed to see as administrator. So timesheet entry, where most people have the relationship with Abtrac, you can leave it open all day, flit in and out and keep it updated, or of course you can hit it at the end of the week before the administrators come around. You see, you can also enter office disbursements, or more usually people would import them as creditor invoices from their accounting system. You can also process sub-consultant invoices, and of course you can export your timesheet data if you need to upload into a timesheet module, for example, an MIB, if you want to do that. Similarly, you can export the data to payroll in lots of different systems. Abtrac will handle that. You just tell us how it needs to work. So we spent a bit of time looking at a project, a client and a project, and the scope of the project in stages or phases. We spent a bit of time just entering time sheets and talking about disbursements. And they're going to change hats, and we'll look at entering some invoices. And before I do that, I'll just have a look at some reports. So within Abtrac, one of the things that people like about Abtrac are the reports, and I've got a list of favourites here. There's maybe only a couple of dozen here, but if I click on the All button, then there's actually hundreds of reports here, and in every report I get lots of variations over here as well. So I can choose to sort a particular report, or show charge rate or cost rate, or sort this way or that way, according to the report type. Before I get on to billing, I might want to look at it from a project management perspective, so I can look at a chart or a report on how is a particular project going. I know my project was called 19 something, so I'll just type that in and pick it. And you see I can look at it by charge rate or cost rate, but I'll just look at it based on charge. So what we say to a lot of clients is, look, if you can show us your favourite reports that you're doing at the moment in Excel, or maybe in the system that you're using, if it's a commercial system, then we'd be pretty surprised if we haven't got something similar. All of those reports are in Abtrac because our clients and some prospective clients have asked us for them. And we've had a good look and we said, look, you're the 36th person that's asked us to do a report like that. So often we'll put them into the generic list at no cost. And then for some clients we do very special reports. But getting back to this particular report, these are my budget hours and the variances around the hours if I've entered them. These are my budget dollars, which are more important, of course, and I can see that I've consumed 71% of the fee there, and I've made an independent assessment, perhaps at billing time, or maybe back in the stage screen that I was in earlier. I think I'm up to 75%, so I'm happy with that. I'm particularly unhappy with my variation down the bottom here. We've completely blown that. Thank goodness it was only a little bit of work. But this can be run in real time, and something I didn't highlight when setting up the client and the project, I can also set up an alert. So if I did set up an alert, I can say, tell me when I'm up to a certain percentage through a particular stage, or a certain percentage through the whole project. And I can be sent an email as the project manager or as administrator, or indeed anybody else working for the company running the project. And a lot of our clients will do that. But this is also telling me the invoicing that we've done for these particular stages. So it's quite a useful little report. I promise I won't go through all of them, but I'll just look at a couple of others here, maybe hours worked. So we still haven't got around to billing. I'll do that in a minute. This is a report that we use to link to different systems. If I come back to the first, maybe I'll take another month. Normally people might look at this per pay period or per month. And so I get some options here when I go to open it. I'll show all those things. show a separate page for each employee. And so what it's doing, it's just breaking each person's work up into chargeable and non-chargeable and giving some metrics down the bottom. So Aaron's done a fairly good amount of time against his standard hours. If I go through here, you can see we've set up projects like sick leave and annual leave as projects that we want to track explicitly. And down here, I'll just comment on these as well. We've got different percentages here based on standard hours, based on total hours, and based on what we call hours at work. And so, for example, public holidays are not at work hours. So, changing hats, I'm now going to look at what should I be billing this client. I might start here. People can keep entering their timesheets, and I'll say, show me everything up to a certain date. Maybe billing run was at the end of last week. So I'll say, right, show me all the unbilled work as at that particular date. And so I can filter it. I can say, show it for a particular job manager or for 2 or 3 job managers if I want to do that. I'll take everything because we've just got some play data in here. You can also tag a project as no longer current. So look, there's still unbilled work on this job, but the client's gone away to see if they can find a bit more money, or the job's on hold for whatever reason. So I might say, only show me the unbilled work on current projects, or all. I get choices there. So this is listing all projects, all offices, everything. I didn't filter it by anything. It's showing me everything I need to see, a one-liner for every project. I can drill down further if I want to find out more. Looking across at the project I've been playing with, that's my agreed fee, that's what I've billed to date. I could click on that as I did before and see what's on the tab for that. I can see the significant disbursements, $15,000. This is new work on the tab, as is the $8,000 in fees. Where to net them off, I billed $23,392. Now I won't go through all these reports, but I'll just show you a couple of others through here. This is one here that is used extensively for big long-term projects, so you don't lose it, basically. So again, I get some options. I've just chosen one project. I get more options here. And this is summarising it in different ways. This is summarising it, as you can see, by fees. We've actually raised some invoices with no WIP. No, we haven't, but we've got sub-consultants and disbursements. That's in the different revenue categories, if you like, up here. Then down here are the different stages. Here we're going. And then we've got some additional work down here as well. That's an extra that's separated out. So this is quite an extensive report. Some of our clients say, listen, we couldn't run our projects without this. Others say, it's a face full of numbers. Just show me a chart and I'll be happy. We've got whatever you want. So here you can see it showing invoicing, listing, and then it goes on to new work on the tab, unbilled work through to the end. That report. So it's quite an extensive report. I'll take one that's halfway in between, still playing with that same job. I'll take this timesheet entries report. We'll say, show me the billable WIP, show me the invoicing history, show me the stage. And whilst I'm flicking through this, there's 2 things. We will send out a video recording of this. We will also send out invitations. You can have a more in-depth webinar if you want to. And finally, I'll say, when we set up Abtrac in a site, our intention always is you hit the ground running. So before we get you up and running and cut over live to Abtrac, we'll spend as much time as you need to get everything up to speed, so you know exactly what report you want, you know how you want the timesheet screens to look, you know what fields you want to have mandatory in the clients or contacts or jobs pages. We'll set that all up for you, for a fee of course, and all of those details are on our website under the pricing menu. Right, back to here. I'm just going to show you one last report, timesheet entries. I've picked some options, and that's why I highlighted. You don't need to worry that I'm forgetting all of these as we're going through, because we'll train you how to use Abtrac on the day you want to go live. You're really good to go. Here we go. So I've asked it to split it up into the different stages. I haven't entered any annotations on my timesheets. There's some disbursements down the bottom here. If I go on to page 2, it's going to show me the history of previous invoices, and I can see, in fact, they haven't paid any of them either. So I don't know why I'm still working for them, but I guess some of you have got clients like that as well. So what I'm showing here is there's a multiplicity of reports that people do use. Clicking back onto all, there's the timesheet entries report. All of these reports are here. I'd be very surprised if you haven't got one that you need. Moving on to invoicing now. I'll look at some invoicing. What I'll do first is I'll load invoices through here. So we've got lots of different types of invoices. If I show you some samples here, you can do all of these within Abtrac. And it's one reason some of our clients come to us. They say, look, we're doing dozens of invoices every fortnight, and we're doing them not in our alleged time billing system. We're doing it in something else because we can't get the formats we want. So within Abtrac, we can do all sorts of formats off the shelf. Now, obviously, above this line and below this line, you'd have your banking details and things, and nobody does remittance advices anymore. You'd have your logo up here, etc. But within the middle of the invoice, what I'm showing is I can have a story that has as much text in it as I like. I can do bolding and indenting and tabbing. I can do different vertical spacing between the lines, and Abtrac does all of that off the shelf. I can also have different, this is sort of a progress claim invoice here. In fact, it's a little smorgasbord one. So this is a lump sum claim. We quoted 25. We're currently, last time we billed 8.6. This month I'm asking for a bit more. This is a percentage claim. It's a $1.5 million development, and we said we'd charge 10% of the fee as our fee. We previously billed 30%. And here we are. This month we're asking you for that much. So I can't talk and think at the same time. It's a Guy thing, and maybe it's a Kiwi thing, I don't know. Down the bottom we've got some disbursements again. I'll open another report and just show you some differences in things here. So this is another smorgasbord type report. It's a full service fee where we've broken it up into different things, including disbursements down the bottom. So that's all fixed fee. And then last one here, Abtrac does all of these off the shelf. So this was the initial proposal through here. Down the bottom we've got some extras or variations. It's not the job I've been playing with, but I'm showing here we can even have within the same page, we can have different column settings, different tab settings. And then we've got some disbursements. So when I come to invoicing, just closing some of these tabs, I can generate the invoice from here. So I've already looked at those reports, but I can actually look at them again through here. I won't do that again, but I'll generate an invoice. I know what the project was, so I'll just type it in, but you can see you can filter it. You might say, when this person, they're allowed to generate invoices, but they're not allowed to commit them nor send them out, and they can only generate invoices for which they're the job manager, or they can only generate invoices from this office. We've got lots of constraints under here, under the user groups and settings, but I'll come in here. I'll say, I'm going to generate an invoice for this particular project. You can see I can clone it based on a project, the same invoice I did last time, clone that. I won't do that. I'll say, yep, those are the numbers I saw on that report. I'll generate the invoice. So what it's done first, it's pulled through everything in as much as I have entered it. If at the beginning I forgot to enter a billing address or I didn't put in someone's email or anything else, I can say, listen, I'm going to fix that here and push it back to the particular project and or the client. So I can push back some of those details to get whatever I want. Down here, when I click on this grey bar, it's going to shrink up the top bit and show me the invoice lines and narratives, because at the moment we have nothing on the invoice other than the header and the footer, as you can see here. So now I'll put something through the middle, and we can do it in lots of ways. I mentioned before how we do lots of training and things up front before you go live. So on the day you need to do an invoice, you can do it quite easily, and you can do it in lots of ways. I can manually build the invoice up one line at a time. What I'll do today is I'm going to auto-generate the invoice. And so I get all these different options here that I can choose, and these are, again, generic off the shelf. You can do it however you like. I'll do maybe a progress claim amount. It's a big decision. And as I choose each option, I get some things down here. I'll say, listen, omit the disbursements, show the subtotal footer. I'm getting quite excited about it. I'm not sure what it's going to look like. But all of these are built into Abtrac. So what it's done, it's pulled out things in as much as they are here. It's left behind some items, possibly because of the date of the invoice. But just looking at the invoice now, it's pulled it through. All I need to do is either put in an amount or change those percentage figures. And some of our clients will say, look, we don't want to show that one. We'll just show previously invoiced, and each month we'll just add the amount. So just as within other pages, you can show and hide different columns according to whatever you want. So if I want to change something, I'll come down here, click on this particular line and I'll say, look, well, I'll do it on a percentage basis. I'll say, listen, maybe we're up to 100% now. So it's going to ask that much. It's also telling me that based on the time and cost system, there's only $2,200.40 in there. We're asking the client for $32,000, a little bit greedy. Sometimes you might get lucky. You'd do that, for example, if you were billing in advance. You might say, look, at this stage, there's actually nothing being put on the tab. We're asking for a deposit up front. You can do that as well. In addition to printing the invoice, I can email it, I can download a PDF, and I can also look at what we call the assigned time. So some of our clients like to send their clients, this is what was actually on the tab for this particular bill. This is why we're asking this much. And so what I can do is I can export that as a CSV, or indeed produce my own little report and send that along as a supplement to the client. Some of our clients do it with the invoice. Some of the clients get a pre-approval. So the client will sign up, say, yes, I'll pay for this, I'll pay for that. No, this guy, he wasn't actually on site that day. So you can do it in different ways, but a lot of ours will put it through as a supplement. All the invoices that you're working on sit around in here. In fact, all the invoices that I've ever worked on will sit around here, but by default, you come in here, it shows the uncommitted invoices. And I can have different statuses for the invoices. I haven't got them set up here, but you might say, listen, at the draft stage, the project manager can work on it. If it's waiting for approval, only the director can look at it. If it's ready to send it to the client, then maybe the administrator takes control of it. So you can have different statuses through here, but I can load them and play with them, edit them, do whatever I like, and eventually I'll go tick, tick, tick down here and I'll commit those invoices. When they're committed, they can be sent to the accounting system, and of course once they're committed, only an administrator can uncommit those invoices. So very quickly in the last couple of minutes, because we've got the scope of the project within Abtrac, we've got everybody's time and billing and everything else within Abtrac. There's lots of other reports we can look at. Fees and costs is one. I've just landed my mouse on that, so I might as well use this one. So I'm going to look at it from 1 May. If I spell it right, it's even more impressive. Here you go. So this is just breaking up all the time that people have done. I'll say look at it through here. I'll follow this through, and then we're nearly done. So it's just saying this is the time that was put on the tab for Aaron. This is what we should have got if we had billed at his normal rate. This is the time that we actually bill. So let's pick one here. Here's one here. So he put 38 hours on the tab. We've only billed half an hour. We should have got $37.50. But in fact, based on the write-off in this case, we only yielded $24. I'm not going to cry over that because we've still got most of that time still to bill. But there's lots of different reports that tie everything together, the client, the job, the employee, the productivity, and they're all visible within Abtrac. And this pretty well concludes this particular webinar. I hope you have found it useful. I hope we get spammed with lots of questions and queries. And of course you can phone us if you need to, or if you want to arrange a special custom webinar, or alternately to just ask any question about Abtrac if you so desire. We will meet again, I hope, if not online, then on the phone, or who knows where. Talk to you soon, hopefully. Bye-bye. Thank you.